My man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Awesome. Ready to rock?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Mikey.
What's up, boys?
Yeah, my man. How are you?
Good, man.
Good.
How about you guys?
I'm good. This Monday flew by.
I know. I'm liking it.
I know I'm going on vacation on Friday, got 4th of July Thursday. About it.
That's it.
Yep.
Mikey, I liked hearing you had the best June, like your best month ever or whatever.
Yeah, man. It was crazy. It was a crazy month between, well, obviously coming down there and then I went to Boston, but we reviewed everything the other day and it was like we did close to 10 deals. We had 4 closings and added some students, so it was good.
Nice.
Good,
Yeah.
man. And enjoy the journey, brother. Enjoy the journey. There is no destination.
Absolutely.
These are the good old days.
They are.
Mike
It's-
Wilcox, what's going on, brother?
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. Meet another Mike and then Justin. Do you know Justin, Mike?
I've met Justin.
Oh,
Yeah, I say we've met. I don't think we know each other super well, but I know we've met.
No, Justin was at one of the 2 days that I went to of yours, Mike.
right.
The one in Newtown.
Yeah, he teaches all of them. He teaches with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, this is fitting for today's call. We are having our biggest day ever at one of our companies. So works. Good day to have that. Could bring it up today.
The perfect day.
Perfect day. And I've only worked on ballpoint stuff for like 3 hours today. So pretty cool.
That is super cool. Time doesn't mean money.
Not at all.
Hey, Katie Kaufman.
What's up?
Not much. Ryan just stepped away. He'll be joining us, but we just found out that we got voted best contractor in St. Charles. So that's exciting.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome. How'd you get into that competition?
Yeah, right.
That's a Ryan question. To be honest, I don't even know.
That's fair.
I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah. I always see those and I'm like, I always wonder like how people get into those things. 'Cause I don't know. I don't see them a ton come up.
What kind of contracting do you do?
So we own a construction. So we own Top Dog Construction and it has a concrete and a construction division. We're in the process of pivoting to new builds. So really focusing on decks, concrete, garage builds, additions, and new builds.
Nice.
So pretty excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just built a privacy fence for us in our backyard. That is so nice to have finally.
I don't know if I can take credit for that though. My kids,
That's true. Your kids did do a lot of it. That's fair. That's fair.
they
brought
did so
the kids
good.
out to help out during some of the sessions, and it's cool watching. How old's your son who was cutting?
He's 10, and
Okay.
then William was 6. He was running the nail gun for the first time.
Yeah, watching a 6-year-old with a nail gun and a 10-year-old with a saw cutting woods to like exact measurements is pretty impressive. Because I can't even do that.
No.
Not my strong suit.
Hey, those trees though, you were getting after those trees on Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. That was one of those things where it's like we cut them down and I turned around and I was like, what the fuck did I do? Now I gotta clean all this shit up.
I was wondering what the fuck you did.
That's all right. I'm just paying somebody to come pick it up instead. We got some of it done, but it's like I have a friend that owns a tree company. I wonder if he could pick it up for me. And sure enough, he can.
What's up, Ryan? How are you, brother?
Good.
Well, it is 6:00 on the dot. We'll give it a few more minutes. We had close to 60 enrollees, so
Give it a few minutes, and if you're presentable, turn your cameras on. It's always fun not talking to black screens.
Yeah, right. You don't need to hide on this call.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hurt you.
What's up, fellas?
Angie's
What's up,
not
David?
hiding.
What's happening, Justin?
I would just like to take a moment to point out that it is July 1st and I am wearing a hoodie, and that makes me very, very happy.
Love
We're
it.
4 months from Halloween as of today.
It was 57 degrees when I stepped outside this morning.
It was nippy this morning. I noticed that.
It was best run that I've had like in a long time. It was wonderful.
That's awesome. Okay, Dave, you out camping?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Actually, I live full time in a camper, so
Nice.
I decided a year and a half ago on a whim to sell my house and my cars and everything I own and full time RV for a couple of years. So,
Okay, nice.
yeah, it's a little different. So,
I've tried to convince my wife to do it, but she don't want to.
so we bought our RV on a complete whim. We just went to look one day and bought one, and there was a lot to learn after the sale. So,
Yeah.
I would recommend you do your research before you buy an RV.
So we have an RV, and we've always
Okay.
had the thought of doing it, and then we get out for like a week and a half, and we're like,
Yeah.
maybe not. Kids are still a little too young. Maybe not right now.
Hey, Justin,
Yeah.
Kara already said in the comments, no.
I saw. Because then we get home and we're like, we have a mansion. This is amazing. Even though, like,
it
it's 2,500 square feet.
It does when you return home. Like we'd be like, "My gosh, this place is like the Taj Mahal." It wasn't even that big.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's something I would be interested in. I don't know if Angie would want to do it, but I'd love to be on the road. That'd be fantastic.
I don't know. I go back and forth.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Well, with your taste, we wouldn't have a less than luxurious camper.
No, we would have to have several rooms because I need my space away from my Kitco because he's a lot.
I am a lot.
Fair.
I am a lot.
Space
From
and
the
campers.
From the second I wake up, I'm a lot.
So the second you go to bed, yeah.
To the
Let's
second
keep
I go
going there.
What do people do about the restroom when you're doing RV life?
So we like to stay at places with full hookups. So
Oh,
we travel a lot for work, and then we have a seasonal job, so we kind of just go with the weather when we're not working. But we like to stay at full hookup places. We don't really. I mean, I like being on concrete and full hookup. So we're not really roughing it. It's
Yeah.
I mean, it's a luxury RV. It's still like a smaller one. It's 35 feet, but
Okay.
like the ceilings are real tall. It's got a lot of room in there. But
Is it a
yeah,
fifth
no,
wheel?
we like. It is a fifth wheel. Yep.
Yeah.
So we like to stay. There's a place called Sun Outdoor Resorts, and they're luxury RV resorts. So they have they have pools, restaurants,
oh, nice.
usually like daily activities, things like that. So we like to stay at the kind of the nicer places. But the thing with RVing, if you're traveling for work, sometimes you can't always find a really nice place, and you do got to stay in a, kind of dirt area, things like that, campgrounds. But
Yeah,
but
we've
I
stayed at a couple sketchy spots that are.
yeah.
I agree. There's one campground near us where we go fly fishing at that has electric hookups, and that's it. And it's the
Yeah.
worst having to dump tanks in like the little mini thing that you have to pull behind your truck, and
Yeah.
it's not fun.
Yeah, that's there's one place we go to. It's on Lake Superior. It's a place called Bayfield, Wisconsin. It's a beautiful place, and it's right on Lake Superior. It's on Indian Reservation, and it doesn't have the sewer hookups, so you do got to pull that little trolley and
Yep.
put your little dookies in there and then go dispose of them yourself. So it's not ideal, but you do what you got to do.
All right. On that note, on the Dookies note, I'll take over. So I'll let you guys run the show for too long. But hey, so logistics before we get started. Justin is a very, very interactive human being, and he loves interacting during these things. So love it if you turn on your camera, turn on your video, don't hide, show up, interact, ask questions, and let's have some fun. But Justin, Kara, me, Angie, we run a business called Inner Wealth Global. And what we do is we help people live extraordinary lives and expand their states of health and wealth, the impact you make in the world, the love you accept and the love you give in the world, and just live a free life. We love freedom. We create freedom. And that's why our Facebook group is called the Business Freedom Academy, because we created a business so that we can have freedom in our lives, not so that we can just have a job. So we designed this thing to help increase business success and business wealth. Justin has built from the ground up two multiple seven-figure businesses, and he started working with Inner Wealth Global back in September. He and Kara started working with Inner Wealth back in September, and since that time frame, our monthly sales have doubled. This guy knows what he's doing when it comes to building a business, when to scale, when not to scale, when to work on systems, when to work on branding, when to work on marketing. He's got a genius business mind, which is why he's leading this session called Path to Six Figures a Month. And at the end, we're going to be talking about how to carry on this thing. This isn't just about a webinar, a 60, 90-minute webinar. This is about a journey of creating wealth, success, happiness, and transformation in your life. In an hour, we can inform. In a workshop, we can educate. But in our mastermind, we can transform. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Justin. Let's have some fun.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It might be my favorite intro I've ever had. I am
and it's recorded.
Perfect. Love it. Share my screen. You guys see? I'll see this okay? Perfect. And where is, there we go. Cool. So as Mike had said, like I'm pretty interactive. I don't know, you could say I have ADD, maybe, I don't know, but I get bored when it's just a black screen of names. So if you guys don't have your cameras on and want to turn them on, that would be great, but I'm not going to force you, I guess. So appreciate you guys for all showing up, and this will be recorded as well for people that do show up and people that weren't able to make it, so you can go through and watch this again as well. But Mike and I, we started thinking about building this webinar after we actually went through something similar ourselves. And we went through this course that really helped us kind of solidify some processes and systems into what we're doing. And our whole goal with this was like, what is a common problem that business owners face, and how can we help solve it? Real quick in the chat, if you guys could just kind of put, I don't know, let's say, put a thumbs up in the chat. I don't know if that's going to be easy on here. Put the number 1 in the chat if you guys are an active business owner currently. Kind of curious where the group is and what we've got in here so far. All right, lots of ones. Love it. Cool. Now, we called this the Path to Six Figures, and I want to preface this that this is the goal is to get to 6 figures a month, which is ultimately going to give you a 7-figure business, right? I think the technical number to hit 7 figures a year is like $83,000 a month or somewhere around there. I'm not doing math at the moment, but something like that, right? And I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of different business owners in a lot of different categories and different niches and industries. And the cool thing for me that I have seen is there's very similar problems and pain points that everybody faces no matter what they're doing, right? There's a lot of real estate investors on this call. There's some non-real estate investors on this call, and kind of all walks of life that are in here. And you guys are going to typically run across similar problems, right? So a lot of us kind of look like this at times, struggling in your business to hit certain goals and numbers. It might be 6 figures a month. It might be $10,000 a month, right? It might be 50,000, whatever the marker is that you're trying to hit. It's very easy for business owners to get into a point where they're poor Pablo. Yes, poor Pablo. Where you're struggling to hit the numbers that you initially set out to hit. Has anybody been there? Or you're just kind of, all right, or you get to the point where you're working and it's like doing all this stuff, but nothing's moving, like my revenue's not increasing, right? You can kind of get trapped in that. So luckily you're in the right place. All right. The goal with this, like Mike said, I have built multiple seven figure businesses. We've got about 40 employees across all of our companies right now. And I told Mike at the beginning of this, and I'll just share it because I'm a pretty open person. We are having in our marketing company our largest revenue day ever. And as of right now, today, that company has brought in $84,500. One day. This morning, that number was at zero. So that's not a common thing on a daily basis, right? We typically are between 15 to 20, I would say on average. But like this is one of this perfect day to have this because we're talking about how to get to six figures a month, and we're pretty close to hitting it in a single day. We've never hit it. We've always come like within $20,000, but this just to kind of show the possibilities of what you can do out there with focusing on the right things. So today we're going to cover a couple things. We're going to cover some foundationals of what a successful business and a successful mindset in your business is to get to where you want to be. Mike has said this a bunch of times. I've heard other people say it as well in a similar manner, but you can have a perfect business and system, but if you have a broken mindset, you'll eventually have a broken business. Has anyone else heard that before? Perfect. If you've been around Mike at all, you've heard it, right? But I've heard other business owners say very similar things in a manner where if you don't figure out certain things, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And it also comes down to like money doesn't make you happy, right? Listen to Alex Hormozy earlier today. A lot of you guys probably know who he is, but he's talking about the person that won that $2 billion lottery, right? And someone was asking like, what's your advice for that person? And he's like, realize that is not going to make you happy. If you were miserable beforehand, you're going to be miserable afterwards. It's just going to happen. So focus on that kind of stuff first. We'll talk a little bit about sales and marketing, building and structuring your team for growth, and then finally, scaling safely and sustainably. I have a lot of experience in that one, unfortunately, because I have scaled not safely and not sustainably and lost a lot of momentum that we had to rebuild. All right, so first I'll tell you guys just a little bit about me before we get started. So I've been married for 15 years to my wonderful wife who said she is currently eating her Chick-fil-A. So eating some dinner, getting that going. I've got three amazing kids, my 13-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, or sorry, 9-year-old daughter and 7-year-old daughter. They all just changed ages. I was fired 11 times in my W-2 jobs trying to find what I was going to do before I figured out I was an entrepreneur and started this journey back in 2017. Not knowing anything, barely graduated high school, didn't go to college, all of that kind of stuff. Typical entrepreneur journey. And currently I'm the CEO and co-owner at 3 separate companies. So one is Interwealth Global, which we're here today on behalf of Interwealth Global. Ballpoint Marketing, which is our marketing company. If you guys don't know about that, it's pretty neat. We do handwritten direct mail, and we actually have a warehouse of robots that hold ballpoint pens and write letters and send out direct mail. It's pretty cool. And then Call Porter, which is our answering service for real estate investors as well. That one's a little more boring, but it's helpful for people. So since then, we've built 2 7-figure businesses per year. One of them will do about 1.8 million this year. The other's on track to do about 6.5 million, maybe a little bit more, just depending on how the next few months go. And for fun, things I like to do, I like to be outside. I like to go camping, ride motorcycles, fly my paramotor, which this little contraption thing here, some people call it a butt fan. I'm trying to get Mike's wife, Jay, or fiance, Jay, into this. We talked about it. She's an adrenaline junkie, and it is a lot of fun. Only takes like 2 weeks to learn, and it's about 10 grand to get into it. So it's pretty inexpensive from a flying standpoint to get into it. So that's a little bit about me.
But he was scared to death of heights and scared to death of flying before he went to training for the paramotor. And now that's his favorite thing to do in the world.
Yep. That is my absolute favorite thing to do now. Actually, Blake, who is on this call, I think, is helping me out and driving it out to get it fixed because I don't have time to drive out that far, unfortunately. So he's going to take it up for me so I can get it fixed. So I appreciate that. So curious let's throw 7 in if this sounds like you guys. If you're focusing on building your systems so you don't fail, like that's your main focus. You're sitting there building your systems, building your systems. I've heard of a lot from young business owners is I have to have my systems in place. And it usually comes back to, I don't want to fail, right? Or working constantly, you're not seeing any growth or traction in your business. Your bank account's not growing. You're just kind of stuck in this limbo of putting in work, but not seeing the fruit from it. Sometimes you randomly hit 6 figures a month, but it's not been repeatable, right? You might have 1 or 2 months out of the year and you're like, oh, sweet, we hit it. But then the rest of the year, it's, maybe 30,000 or 50,000 or whatever it might be. It's not sustainable. Or maybe you're seeing your team members confused with the direction you're going, or they're not as engaged as maybe they once were, right? Anybody run into these problems? Cool. All right. So I think I'm talking to the right people, which is good. Got some 7s in here. Define being scared of failure. And biggest change needed was my mindset. Love it. Yeah, fear of failure will get you, unfortunately. All right. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about before we get to those 4 things that I had mentioned a little bit earlier is we want to redirect your focus in your business. All right. The last slide is things that a lot of business owners focus on prematurely when they don't need to. What that leads to is the symptoms that we talked about, right? You're moving, not getting a lot of extra revenue. Stuff's not changing the way it's supposed to. You're putting in a lot of work, not seeing a lot of fruit out of it, right? So the first thing I want to do is redirect your focus based off of where your monthly revenue is. All right. So, and I'm not going to call anybody out or ask you guys where your monthly revenue is at if you don't want to share that. I'm happy to share and answer any questions as we go through this towards the end. But if you're anywhere from $0 to $25,000 a month in revenue, these are the main things I have seen. Now, this isn't an absolute, right? There are some businesses that are a little bit different. But from what I've seen from other business owners I know, is the things you should be focusing on is brand awareness, so people know who you are, market research to know if your product or your service or your offering is a good fit for the market that you're in, and if there's what the competition is, things like that. Sales and lead generation, which I should have put on here first, honestly. Sales and lead generation, that's where all your time and attention and energy should be going. And then basic processes. I say basic because you need something. But what I see a lot of people do is start with, I've got this whole org chart and this map flow process built out, assuming that's what your processes are going to be. But you don't really know what those processes are going to be until you start bringing in revenue and seeing how things move through the system and your process in your business and seeing what works and what doesn't, what breaks and what doesn't. And a lot of people will spend so much time focusing on that and not realizing that you're wasting your time and energy and money by doing all of that too soon. So some basic simple processes, like if you're a real estate investor as an example, like once you get a house under contract, cool, what's next, right? What's the next step? You need to switch bills over. You need to, figure out title work. You need to do certain things. But having it all automated and all these like email reminders and notifications and all this kind of stuff going on doesn't really need to be your focus just yet, right? I see Mike and Jay nodding their head because they focus a lot on some of these systems and they've grown some businesses and they've seen this in their own companies as well. But this is your biggest focus point. It would, in my opinion, would be sales and lead generation between 0 and 25,000. Now, if you're between 25 and 50,000, you've had some success. It's been repeatable. You're starting to get some of these consistent and predictable revenue coming in. This is when you can focus on increasing those marketing efforts that you're doing, testing out different types of marketing processes and systems, optimizing that sales process. So you have a really good sales system down for whatever it is, right? If it's real estate, cool. When you go to the appointment, what you're going to say, how you're going to talk to people, what you're going to look for. If it's e-com, or if it is over the phone sales, whatever it might be, you have your sales process kind of defined because you've seen what works. Does this make sense so far? Perfect. Customer retention. If you have customers, this is where that can kind of come into play and get started. You could also have this if you don't really have customers and you have more sellers, if you're working with real estate investing, is you can focus on the relationship with the seller and how you communicate with them and how you can make their experience as streamlined, as easy, as beneficial as possible for them. So that way you can get referrals and repeat business and all that kind of stuff comes into play. And then from here, you can start expanding offerings as well, adding in new products, adding in new services, adding in, I'm going to use real estate investing a lot because it's what I know. So if you're not a real estate investor, I apologize, but that is something I know very well. But you can expand some of those offerings into that as well. Next, if we're between 50 and 75,000 a month, this is really where you start to build those systems and processes, right? You have your team development, making sure you've got the right people in the right place. You've got more systematized operations with automations, more, could be notifications for our business as an example. We have text message notifications that go out, email that go out based on specific things that happen in our business during our customer journey. And we make sure that we're able to track everything through the process, right? From the time an order comes in to the time it goes out the door, I can pull up our system and see where that order is. And it doesn't have to be crazy complex, right? You don't need a $75,000 CRM. We built ours on Google Sheets. We hired an expert who's really good at formulas and all that kind of stuff. And literally all of our order tracking and processing goes through a Google Sheet, and we do about $500,000 a month in that company. And we probably do 400,000 pieces of mail, 450,000 pieces of mail, something like that. So every single one of those orders is just tracked through a simple Google Sheet, because I went the opposite way originally and spent a ton of money on software that I only used 10% of, and I ended up canceling it to build what I needed to actually work for me. So it doesn't have to be these crazy expensive systems. You can build it yourself. And this is where you can start to hire people for the stuff you're not good at, right? Like, I'm okay with spreadsheets. I'm pretty decent. I don't know how to build scripts, right? I don't know how to automate pulling in API stuff into a spreadsheet. It's not my forte. Financial management really starts to be key at this point. So understanding where your money goes. I'll tell a story here in a minute after I go over the next one about financial management and that role that played in my business. And then continuing to enhance that customer experience. And last but not least, if you're between 75 and 100,000, this is really where strategic planning and advanced systems and processes can come into play. Building a good culture and continuing to make sure that you're leading in a way that grows and promotes that culture in your company, and then increasing that marketing. So I started this slide with talking about most people are trying to start here, right? They're trying to start at the strategic planning, the advanced systems, the leadership and culture. I've been to so many seminars and so many events where culture is like the number one thing you focus on. And I agree, it's very, very important, but not at $5,000 a month, right? If you've got one employee or even no employees, like if it's just you, there's no point in building a culture at that point, right? You don't need core values just yet. I'm a firm believer in that it is very important in your business, but you want to get to certain milestones to get there, to have the team to really build that. Because what I found in my experience is the first time we built like our core values and our team culture and things like that, it changed within a year, right? Because it was too early. Our team kind of evolved and changed throughout time. And we really had to just adjust that over time. So I'll go back real quick to the financial management thing I talked about. About a year ago, a little over a year ago now, we almost lost one of our companies. We're very, very close to losing one of them. And a big part of it, there were some outside factors that came into that. But a big part of it is we did not have a good system set up to help manage the finances that were coming in and out of this company on a monthly basis, right? When you're cycling through, $400,000 or $500,000 a month, there's all these little charges and, postage expenses and paper expenses and all these little things that we weren't tracking properly. And ultimately we had to completely obliterate our QuickBooks system and rebuild it from the ground up, because we were basing it off of something that was built for a business doing $30,000 a month. So being intelligent and doing your financial management properly through your company, and even hiring people to help you with this, is such an important thing once you get to that point, because once you start bringing in the money and you know how to make money, you have to know how to keep it as well. Has anyone else been in that situation? All right, cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one. But like I said, I barely graduated high school. I didn't go to college, and I was running a multi-million-dollar a year company, and was like, there's money still in our checking account. We must be good. That is literally where, unfortunately, where our thoughts were at that point. And then we had some outside circumstances come in that really made everything tight. And we got down to like 3 weeks worth of cash reserves, was pretty much what it boiled down to. And we had to completely revamp stuff, let a bunch of our team go and redo everything. And it was a huge learning experience. I probably wouldn't be on this call today without that experience, because I learned a lot from doing that. So I'll get off my soapbox, but financial management, super important. Yes, Mike.
But so not but one thing that is interwoven all through all of these, and Justin and I have been working together. We started working together about 5 years ago as coachee, right? So I was coaching Justin, and as he was building this business, I was the leader behind the leader, always in his ear, always helping him and fine-tuning his mindset, keeping him focused, keeping his approach. And early on, Justin looked at the spend of coaching as an expense. And after a while, he started seeing that spend being an investment. And it was always an investment, but it was his mindset, education, and buying other people's wisdom, buying mentorship, buying guidance, buying containers like this, buying communities, buy your friends, buy your allies, buy your solutions. That's always a great investment in your business. The information that Justin has up here is about what to focus on in your business, and always make sure that you're focused on your own education, your own growth, because the business grows at the level that the business owner grows.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it's interesting too, because it was a while that I always looked at it as an expense in our books and things like that. And the first coaching group I ever did cost me $7,500 a month with a year-long contract. And this was probably 30% of our revenue at that point. But I learned a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about and we have been talking about today. And within like 9 months, we went from I think like $20,000 a month to about $80,000 a month. And I had more time. That was my most favorite time. Favorite thing about it was like, I'm not working 80 hours a week. I can actually have personal time and do things. And my business kind of operates now somewhat without me, right? So I'm glad you said that, Mike. It's super important. All right, so we want to build an extremely strong foundation, and I'm going to have Mike chime in on this stuff too, because he's helped me a ton with this. But in your business, go ahead and throw, like, say, a number 2 in here. If you have a clear vision and goal for your company, written down, stated, something like that. If you have one, go ahead and throw a 2 in the chat here.
And I would even say mission, vision, values, making sure that you know where you're going and what your company is about, the mission of your enterprise, your vision, where are you headed in 5 years? What does your business look like in 5 years? And then your values, who's coming with you, right? So you don't want a lot of competent assholes in your business. You want competent people that are aligned with your values, so that the workplace is toxic isn't toxic, and it's constructive and it's conducive to learning, it's conducive to performance, it's conducive to problem solving, and not just a place to go to vent a bunch of drama.
Yep. All right. How many people do we have on this call, Mike?
We have 28.
All right. 28 people, and 2 people have a clear vision and goal outlined for their company. So we'll talk a little bit about this today, and we'll talk about this a lot more over the coming month or so, of people joining into what I'm going to offer you, because I'm going to offer you something by the end of this. But I want to give you all the value first. Is having a clear vision and goals for your company is so huge. 2 reasons. Shiny object syndrome is one. I know we've all dealt with that, right? You start on something and then you go to a seminar or you see something and you're like, oh, I'm going to go over here and do this now. And then what you started on doesn't work, right? It doesn't happen. There's a great quote that poverty loves indecision.
Hmm.
It's one of my new favorite quotes. Money likes time, money likes speed, wealth loves time, and poverty loves indecision. Are like the three things that I read this recently, and I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. Because I can't tell you how many times I've started on something or sort of committed to something, and then I was like, I'll do something else, and then that thing blew up. I'm like, shit, I didn't focus on that thing, right? And this has been a theme in my life over the years. So working through those things. So having a clear vision and goals, and it can be 3 sentences, right? I'll be honest, I don't have a mission statement for any of our companies right now. It's just not something we focused on. But I know our marketing company, our goal is to be $50 million a year in revenue over the next 5 years. Our goal is to have a 20% profit margin on that at a minimum. Our goal is to either have that cash flow stay there and hire myself out of my job or sell the company at some point, right? And I know that our team knows this as well. They don't, our goal is really to keep it long term instead of selling. We try not to bring that up with our team because it might scare them off. But our goal with this is to make sure that everyone knows. And I know that we also, in our vision and in our goals with our company, is we want to have our own real estate portfolio within our company that members of our company can buy into as a long-term wealth play for them as well. So that includes owning single family rentals, apartment storage complexes, apartment complexes, things like that that we can have as assets in this company that our team members can buy into and be able to make a return on their money that they're putting into that, and that we can also gift them as well, right? So we want to make it to where it's kind of a different way of doing a 401k or something like that. It's based on real estate that's always appreciating. So that's some of our goals and our vision. Step 2 on this is setting realistic and achievable goals, right? My first goal, and I don't have it up. Oh, I do have it up here. Hell yeah. I didn't think I had this up here. This was my first notebook from when I was a brand new entrepreneur. And where is it in here? One of the goals that I wrote on here, because I was working with a coach at that point, is I wanted to hit $1 million in revenue in 18 months was one of my goals on here. That's really hard to do in 18 months, but it's very easy to do in 36 months, right? So when I talk about setting realistic and achievable goals, is realizing that having big goals is awesome, but set smaller goals along the way so you're not defeated when you don't hit them immediately, right? That was something I dealt with, is it would take me longer. And one of my favorite quotes I ever heard from a book was you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 5. Right? I wanted that instant gratification in a year in our business. I didn't have it. It was a very tough first year, and we had to hire people and get into coaching groups and things like that. But I never would have been able to guess where we are 5 years from now. Like I thought I was just going to have one business at that point. I'm now involved in 3. I do some stuff on the side with some real estate investing and some things here and there. But like I never dreamed that I wouldn't have to worry about paying my mortgage, or like that I wouldn't have to look at a grocery bill, like little things like that. Like I'm not making $1 million a year to myself, but like I never thought I would have like not had to worry about how much gas costs, things like that. So set those little attainable and realistic goals that you can accurately track and get to over a shorter period of time. All right, develop growth mindset, overcoming limiting beliefs. This is why I hired Mike. Is I worked with a lot of business coaches that were business. Here's how you do a pro forma. Never used one in my life. Here's how you do your employee handbook. Here's how you do this, and it was super helpful in certain aspects, but I always felt like something was missing, and it was the mindset side of it. Mike, can you talk to just kind of some of your work that you do with entrepreneurs on developing that growth mindset and overcoming some of those beliefs?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first you hit it with the clarity. The first thing, and we do have a mission statement for our business, by the way.
Sorry,
the-
I know we do for Inner Wealth. I'm
yeah.
thinking other ones.
The first thing I do is get them into dreaming bigger about their life, right? So sometimes we force ourselves into stress and struggle, and I want to know what you want in your health, in your wealth, in the impact that you make in the world, and in your relationship. So it's kind of like well-rounded wealth. And from there, we start to uncover and discover, like, what limiting beliefs do you have about that? Like, some people believe that they can't have it all. It just starts that simple. Like, I can't have it all, or I have to hurt myself in order to have the wealth that I want, or if I rest, I'm lazy. These are all like early childhood pre-programmed conditioning, and we get in and we find out, like, what belief systems are you holding that are true for you because you're making them true, but they're not true at the organic level. And when we start to compare a healthy belief system, healthy money mindset system and beliefs with poverty mindset, like rich people are greedy, right? Like that's a poor mindset. Like, making money is hard. That's a poor mindset. Like, in order to get rich, you need to hurt people. You need to do it on the backs of people. These are poverty mindsets. And if you live in your belief system all the time, you don't understand where you're living in a false belief and making it true, because that's what we do. We make our beliefs reality. Our beliefs don't make us respond and behave. We make our beliefs true, and we make them material even when they're not. Sometimes, if you think making money's hard, when somebody gives you money easily, you'll make it hard because you'll back into your belief. This is why and we talk in our mastermind a lot about wholesalers that are just getting started, that they don't feel worthy of a $45,000 split. They only feel worthy of a $5,000 because they didn't work hard enough to earn the $45,000 split. And you don't have to earn a bigger split. The fact that you're breathing means you deserve a bigger split. But some people are holding the belief that I've got to work hard and be stressed out and struggle in order to get wealthy. And when that doesn't happen, they feel like something's wrong and they start to push it away because they choose their beliefs instead of reality.
Cool. Thank you. And one of my favorite things with developing a growth mindset, it took me a little bit of time, because the way I grew up was very like, there's honor and struggle kind of like mentality, like blue collar type mindset. Borrow it from those who do believe, right? Pay to go to groups, go to events, be around people that make way more money than you, and ask them questions, right? Like, those are some of my favorite things, is when I'm around people that are at my level, like, that's amazing. But then when I'm around a billionaire and I'm like, holy shit, like, how is this even possible? And they're like, yeah, I could do that in a day. Like, they have a completely different mindset around stuff, and it's their experience, the people that are around, what they've done. So if you don't have it, what I did is I borrowed it from people that I was around, right? Like, if they can do it, I can figure this out too.
Get in a room with people with more than you, and I'm talking holistically: health, wealth, success, love in their life. Get in rooms with people that have more than you and ask them what they believe. And if they have more than you in these dimensions, don't be idiotic and tell them what you believe to be true, because what you believe to be true got you where you are. What they believe to be true has gotten them where they are. You don't ask a poor person for their money beliefs. It doesn't make any sense. You don't ask a fat person for their nutritional guidance and advice. You don't ask a serial divorcee for relationship advice. You look for somebody who has more than you, that has a higher level, that has a higher quality of life, and understand what they believe in their perspectives. And God forbid, don't defend yours, because yours are meaningless in that like, you're gonna try to give your shitty beliefs to the person who has more than you, and they're just gonna kind of laugh at you, right? Yeah. And I'll go back to, your beliefs got you here, their beliefs got them there. Borrow theirs. And that's what Justin says. In masterminds and in rooms, you literally buy somebody else's belief system, because you get to tap into their mindset.
Yep. I was lucky enough to be in a mastermind with a group that was doing like $400 million a year in revenue, selling teeth care products. And they sold $1 million in sales on Black Friday in 2023. I never would have known that's possible, right? Like, that someone could bring in $1 million in revenue in one day. But because I paid to be in this group, now I know, like, hey, I know someone who's done this, right? And there's ways to do that and get to that point. So just super cool things that you'll pick up on. Discipline. All right. I won't spend too much time on this, but I got this quote from my wife, and I think she got it from a personal trainer or something, but she reminds me of this all the time, is discipline is what comes into play when you don't have motivation. Discipline is always better than motivation, right? Motivation is feeling based. It's, I'm not feeling like it today, or I am feeling like it today. I'm on fire for 20 minutes or a couple hours. And then real life kind of kicks in and you lose that lack of motivation. This is where discipline comes in when you're doing what you need to do, even when you don't feel like it, right? There's plenty of days I don't feel like getting up and checking P&Ls and doing, some of the minute, boring bullshit I have to do with our companies, but I still do them, right? This is something I'm actively working on myself in my health journey, is being disciplined to continue to eat better, to exercise, even when I don't feel like it, right? Because there's times where I'm just like, I had a long day. I'm just going to eat something that's tasty, right? Instead of a salad or something healthy, right? So it goes all the way through business, personal stuff. Discipline is better than motivation, and it's what's going to carry you through when you don't have motivation. All right, we'll move on to part 2 and talk about effective sales and marketing strategies. And we'll talk a little bit about strategies, but we're going to talk more about theory today in this as well. So when you're marketing, trying to find your clients, working on sales, you have to identify and target your ideal customers, right? This is something that at Inner Wealth, we had a problem with for a couple months of kind of growing things and getting momentum because we didn't really identify who our ideal target customer was, right? We spent, I don't know, a couple hours talking through like who our avatar is, who we want to work with, who we're looking for. And once we built that, we're starting to see traction in our stuff. If you guys have ever heard, like, if you're selling to everybody, you're selling to nobody, this is why you need to know who your ideal target and customer is. And I was at a demo today, actually, looking at a new printer for our marketing company. It's like a $250,000 printer. And he was asking if we were ever planning on expanding out of handwritten direct mail into just normal printed direct mail. I told him no, because I know that the riches are in the niches, right? And he was like, I was testing you to see how good you guys are going to be long term. And he knew that as well. He's like, all of my customers that I work with that go broad, it takes them forever to grow. They grow very slowly. They're trying to beat competition by a penny or two. He's like, the people that are in specific niches skyrocket. So identifying that ideal customer and target is going to help you do that instead of just selling to everybody. You want to craft your compelling value proposition. So what value do you guys offer? Right. I'll use Ryan and Katie as an example. They just did some deck work for us and built a privacy fence for us and put like light caps on our vinyl deck. And when I think I was talking to Ryan about it originally, he's like, you could hire somebody for less. He's like, but our work's going to look a lot better. It's like, because I know our quality is higher. Right. And that's why we went with them. Right. It was probably 20% more than some of the other quotes we would have gotten, but it looks very, very good. Right. The product and the work that we done, their value proposition is done to a higher quality. If you've ever worked with any people in construction, it's very easy to get quality of work. It's very hard to find really high quality work. So craft a compelling value proposition and find what that is and use that to market to your target customers. All right. Marketing channels. There's social media, digital ads, direct mail, cold calling, texting, carrier pigeon if you're wanting to go old school, all kinds of marketing channels. The thing that I have learned, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen this as well, is they all work if you stick with them, right? Every single one. Every single form of marketing. I go to conferences a lot or talk to people where, well, direct mail is not working anymore. Cold calling is not working anymore. Social media marketing isn't working anymore. It's like, well, are you trying new things? Are you adjusting? Are you pivoting with the marketplace? Because I know people like in real estate investing, for example, and even in coaching as well. I know people that swear by social media. I know people that swear by direct mail, that swear by cold calling, and they're all successful because they all do it in their own process and their own system that works, and they're consistent, and they do enough volume to get numbers and metrics to know that this stuff works. As let's say, put a 9 in the chat if you've gone back and forth between marketing channels and had very little success. I'm curious to see kind of how this pans out in here. Oops. Yep. Okay. So definitely a couple people. Bouncing back and forth is, and I talk to in our marketing company especially, like I'll tell everyone this on those calls too. Like, cold calling works. If it works for you, great, do it, scale it, grow it, and do well, but stick with it, right? It's that shiny object syndrome we talked about earlier, where you go to a conference and you hear something, or you see an ad and you want to try it. I'm a big fan and proponent of sticking with what's working and testing new things in very small batches, not completely flipping and saying, well, I've got 20 grand a month over here for marketing and it's working, but this is something new. I'm going to spend 20 here and nothing here and just see what happens. That's how you flip flop a business and destroy it very, very quickly, is by doing that. So I'm a big fan of, like, if I'm spending 20 grand here, maybe I'll go down to 19 and put 1,000 over here, and let's see what it looks like over a couple months. Then if it starts to work, well, cool, I'm probably making enough money now where I can go back up to 20 and maybe bump this up to 5, right? And gradually kind of move things around instead of going from 0 to 100 very quickly. That's how you implode things. That's how you screw yourself. That's how you don't have cash. That's how you have credit cards due that you don't know how to pay, is by doing things like that very, very quickly. So, and ask me how I know. I've done it lots of times. I blew through 25 grand in 1 month on Google ads and didn't get a single customer from it because we did this. And I was like, cool. And then I quit. I didn't continue with it. I was just like, nope, turn that off, going back to what works. Gradually do things. All right, building your team for growth. So once you're hitting certain points in business, say 50 to 75,000 a month, you want to start identifying key roles and responsibilities for your members to help you scale. Right? I'll go back to kind of the first thing we talked about, is hearing people say that they're building their systems to scale and they've done 5 grand a month, 10 grand a month, right? You're nowhere where you should be. Once you're to that $50,000-$70,000 a month range, you can start identifying what the key roles are for people and the responsibilities that they're going to have to help scale, because you can't do it yourself. There's only so much time you have in a day, only so much energy you have in a day. And I'm very guilty of this over the years of, I'm trying to think of how to say this. I don't know, just wasting time and having nothing come out of it, where I feel like I'm working, but nothing's happening, right? Like, I'm congratulating myself because I checked off my task list. Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm still broke. Like, I'm not making any money. This isn't fun anymore. So helping identify those key roles and responsibilities in your company and who is going to handle it is how you can start scaling and moving up. Hiring strategies. So who has a team member, 1 or 2 or more team members in here? Cool, couple people. Sweet. So there's something on my mouse is really sensitive today, but there's all kinds of ways you can hire people, right? You can do Indeed, Monster, Wise Hire, all that kind of stuff, job fairs, things like that. My personal opinion, when you're hiring top talent, use your network. Ask people who you know, who do they know that would be a good fit for this role that I'm looking for. Every single executive level type employee we have with us, or even like managerial type stuff, every single person in our companies has come from a referral, from some way, shape, or form. Our COO came from a referral. Our call center manager, who oversees 20,000 calls a month, came from a referral. My trainer in that company came from a referral. Our production manager, who oversees all of Ballpoint stuff, happens to be my brother-in-law, right? Like, all of those key people came from referrals when you're attracting top talent. And this is where it kind of goes back to having a good culture, knowing where you're going, what your goals are, what your values are, where this company is moving towards. Because ultimately, when you are hiring top talent, you're stealing them from somebody else. I made the mistake a long time ago of trying to hire top talent off of Indeed, and had horrible applicants. It was all the people applying for $100,000 a year job that have never made more than 30 or 40, right? I wasn't getting that level of people. And it's usually because those top talent type people already have a job somewhere else, right? They're not scrolling Indeed looking for a job. If someone wants to attract me, right? I couldn't tell you the last time I've been on Indeed. It's just not going to happen. But if I was in an executive role as a W-2 employee and I saw or heard of another company that was hiring for what I was doing, and they were much more excited, they had stuff that they were working towards, they had promise and potential, I would talk to them about it if someone approached me, right? So using those types of tools for top talent is super huge. Building a positive culture. Mike, do you want to talk about this a little bit? You work with a lot of people around this on developing their teams and stuff. I think that would be good.
I do. So I like to think about whenever I'm working with a new business owner, we take a look at their org chart. We take a look at all their employees, and we plot. We do a 4-block, and if 4 blocks, just where you have 4 blocks, right? You know what I'm saying? The vertical and the horizontal. And what we do is we plot the vertical as performance, and we plot the horizontal as culture, as values. Okay, so we plot each person according to the values and the performance. And what we come up with are 4 different placements. You got people who are low value, low performers, and those people have to go immediately. Low value, they're not a culture fit, and they're not performing. They've got to go. You've got people that are low performers, high value, so they're good culture fit, but they're just not performing. You coach the shit out of them, right? You've got people that are because their culture fits, and that's hard to come by. You've got people that are high performers, high values. You promote the shit out of them. You don't lose those people over something as silly as money, right? You make sure you're ahead of the game. You give them the raise before they ask. You make sure that they have the growth potential, the path laid out. You don't lose those people. If you lose those people, those people leave managers, not businesses. All right. And then you've got people that are low value, high performers. Those are the hard parts. Those are the hard stories. But those people are poisoning the rest of the organization. Those people are winning at other people's expense, and those people are making other people's lives miserable. Now, culture is, if you think about a fishbowl, culture is like the water in the fish tank. The fish are swimming in the culture. The fish are swimming in water, but they don't even know they're in the water. It's the tone that you set inside the organization. It's the agreement that you've already made before you brought these people in, of how they're going to interact with people. Is it a culture of performance? Is it a culture of excuses? Is it a culture of tempo? Is it a culture of impatience? You, as the leader, you set the tone for culture, and it goes beyond just the words that are written on a wall that look good. It's, are you living those values, and do you put those values ahead of everything else? One company I work with, the owner had a house where the foundation was cracked, and he was never ever going to hurt one of his tenants and put them in a bad spot. Like, literally, he was a landlord that lived and died by the fact that he created a safe place, and he took care of his people. And he had a home where the foundation was cracked, and she wanted to buy the house, and he wouldn't sell it to her. And she was going to pay a lot of money for it, and he wouldn't sell it to her because it would have put her into financial distress. And he eventually told her, listen, I can afford to take that loss. You can't. So your values are what you do when there's a crisis. How do you behave? How do you perform? It's not what you're doing in the good times. It's what you're doing in the tough times. That's your real culture. So look at all the people that you have in your life, and you'll see the culture and the values that you're amplifying in the world. And there's no one toxic person in a relationship. There's always 2. If there's a lot of drama, you're bringing that shit and you're inviting it. You've got to start to figure out why you're accepting of that type of value in that culture in your life or in your business.
Awesome. Thank you. And my favorite, effective delegation. Who struggles with delegating? can raise your hand, or you can throw a 2 in the chat if you struggle with delegating. All right. Stacy, Mike, cool. This is something I was really bad at for a long time. For me, it came down to trust, right? I can run my business very well. I don't know if this person's going to be able to do it, right? That was kind of the thought, right? And I had a lot of ego in it as well of like, this is my business. I built it. I can't give it to anybody else. You'll never grow past a certain monetary value if you cannot learn this effective skill, is delegating with people. So the way that I look at this is, and I'll give you a couple of examples, right? I used to run into this problem, and it still happens sometimes, but it's not nearly as frequently. It's when we're hitting large growth points in our business, where I would get out of the day-to-day stuff and get sucked right back in, right? I'd get out for like a month and I'd be like, oh, this is what life feels like. And I get sucked right back in, right? And then I'm working 60 hours a week at the office producing stuff. I'm, on Zoom calls or sales calls or whatever it might be. And it came down to I had to learn how to effectively delegate. And so for me, what it comes down to is I will delegate something to somebody if they can do it 80% as good as I can. Right. It's kind of a hard thing to measure sometimes because I'm a numbers guy. But if like they're pretty good at it and they can handle most of it, I'm going to delegate to them. The other 20%, I'm going to be verifying that they are doing it correctly and training and giving additional resources and materials, right? As a leader in your company and as someone who owns multiple 7-figure companies, like your goal for you as the business owner should be spending 10% of your time building out systems and processes for your team to follow, 80% delegating that, and the other 10% verifying it's being done correctly. Because it's very easy. Because what I would do is I would delegate it to somebody and I would say, hey, you need to handle sales now. Here's the script. Here's what I expect from you. Good luck. And then I'd wonder why they couldn't do it and why things wouldn't happen. I didn't give clear expectations on deliverables, what their KPIs were, how soon they needed to hit things, how many calls they needed to be doing a day, none of that stuff. And then I also wouldn't verify, and then I'd get pissed when they didn't have any sales. I'd be like, well, why aren't you selling? Like, that's your job. You're a salesman. You should know this. And I wasn't effectively delegating things. And as business owners, like I know I keep calling them because I've talked to them a lot lately, but I know Mike and Jay, like Mike is stuck in doing a lot of sales acquisition stuff in his company right now, right? And that's something he's trying to get out of. That's something that I always hated getting sucked back into and having to do that. But ultimately, you get to a point where you only have so much time and energy, and you just can't grow past a certain level. So being able to build it around the delegating of this, and it's like I said, it takes a little bit of time, but 80% as good as you. Delegate it and then just verify that they're doing it correctly. It might take a month to be with them on a day-to-day basis, running appointments, talking about stuff, seeing how they interact with people, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But once you get that done and you have clear deliverables ironed out in a document, right? If you've ever hired a VA, it's a similar thing. Here's step 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's when I need it by. Here's what I need it to look like. And then you give them all the tools and resources and you're just verifying that they're doing it. That's how you're going to effectively delegate to people.
One pitfall that I've seen in a lot of leaders is they think that what they do is more special than what other people do. So if you look at some CEOs that have worked themselves from the shop floor all the way into the captain's seat, at some point they could have said, well, I can't delegate these tasks to somebody because I'm special, and they think they're like, I don't know, more significant or more valuable that they can't delegate something that they do. Don't think that you're so freaking like special and like so far above and beyond everybody else that you can't train somebody to do what you can do.
Yeah.
It's a common pitfall.
I'm replaceable in my business, right? Like to me, in my experience, there's not a role that's not replaceable. Even the CEO, even the owner, right? There's other people that can do that job. And this was something, and this kind of goes back to mindset stuff too, but I used to think that everybody wanted to be a business owner and nobody would want to be the person that's day-to-day running things. Like, because I don't like doing some of that stuff. So I'm like, why would anybody else want to do that? There's people specifically looking for that. And that's what they want to do, right? Like my production manager who oversees He's now a part owner in our company, but like he doesn't want all the responsibilities of growing and scaling a company. He's totally fine and loves the position that he's in and does very, very well at it. And over the years, been able to bring him in as a part owner in that company. But that's what he's very good at, right? I have a couple other team members that are like that too, that are great with numbers, great with looking at certain stuff, but they want it to shut off at 5 o'clock, right? Me, you can ask my wife, you can ask Mike. I think about this shit 24/7, right? I woke up on a Saturday and I was like, it was like 2 in the morning. I was like, oh, I have all these ideas. I'm going to write these down so I don't forget. Like it's just constantly going, but a lot of people just want that to shut off. So there are those people looking for that role that are going to be very, very good at it if you can trust yourself and trust them to delegate it to them.
On our business call in our mastermind, me, Jay, and Mike were just talking about this on Friday about you
Okay.
can solve you can they have a problem that they're looking to solve with a sales team, and they didn't think that they could have what they want in terms of someone who will be highly commission based and driven, and the business can win and the salesperson can win at the same time with nobody ever losing. Right. So we can always, it's a mindset. It's all mindset. There's 8 billion people in the world. There's somebody perfect in the world to put you in a win-win situation. You just have to get really clear about what that is and then go look for them. But you'll always find what you look for.
You guys ever heard of closers.io? Anyone familiar with that company? That is all they do, is they find people that want to work commission based, that want to sell, they want to make a lot of money, and the owners want to make a lot of money. Like that is who their ideal target customer is, and they kill it. They make so much money doing that just by hiring commission based people to make that amount of money. It's wild. So there are people that's what they're looking for as well. All right, scaling safely and sustainably, financial management and budgeting. The most boring topic you could possibly talk about, in my opinion, because that's not how my brain works. You need something in place as you're growing. QuickBooks account, whatever it is. If you're not good at this, find somebody who is and have them help you do this as well. There's a lot of, I think, confusion between like a bookkeeper and a CFO. You don't really need a CFO until you're like $5 million a year or more. CFO's more planning. They're more, here's how much money you have. Here's where I think you should move things around to, and here's what I think you should do with it. Where a bookkeeper is going to take your transactions, they're going to classify them, they're going to help it with taxes, and then you can send it to a CPA who can then do all the fancy footwork and make things work properly for you. So don't focus on having a CFO unless you're beyond that. You can hire fractional CFOs and it makes it really easy, but having somebody to manage your books on a weekly basis, and we check ours daily and refresh things so that way we always have, call it like having your finger on the pulse, right? You always know what's going on in your business and you avoid surprises by doing that. Implementing scalable processes and systems. There's so many ways to do this, and the short version of this, what I've done somewhat decently, right? I'm not the best at this, but I do have people on my team that are really good at this, is defining what all your processes are first, right? Like you've built a company to a certain level, kind of flew by the seat of your pants, maybe go through and find out what you do currently and what the processes are, right? You could do it on Google Docs. You could do like Xmind, where you can do a mind map and kind of map the processes out. You could do it on a piece of paper, anything, right? There's no wrong answer for it, but just start to identify what your processes and the systems are when you're doing this. Because once it's defined, then you can tweak and adjust it to make it scalable, right? I didn't do this until probably 2 years ago, and I waited a little too long. And what the problem for me is it cost me some momentum. That is, if you guys have ever had really good momentum in a business, it's hard to get back. It takes a lot of effort to get it back. Once you have it, you want to keep working with it and keep capitalizing on it, and having and building those systems as you're growing will help you to be able to do that. Managing risks kind of goes back to financial management and budgeting, but not taking unnecessary risks as they come up. Calculated risks, I'm a big fan of, right? Random, this is where that shiny object syndrome can come into play, right? You find a new software and it's like, oh, it's a 10 grand setup fee. Okay, cool. What's the software do? Well, and then you're ending up putting out money where you don't need it, right? So managing some of those things that come up in the risks is something that's going to help you safely and sustainably scale. And I would even, like in my marketing company, I would relate this back to like not putting out too many products at once that you can't handle them all at once, right? That's how you have late orders, you have stuff that gets done wrong, have things that get missed because people are used to checking this product for this, and then you have a new product and they don't know how to check things. So managing some of those risks helps you scale sustainably and safely to make sure that you're not shooting yourself in the foot too soon. Man, and this one right here, customer satisfaction during rapid growth periods. I was lucky enough that my dad beat this into me as a kid from working with him. Is like, if something's wrong in your business, just tell your customers. Don't hide it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Whatever it is, like if you mess something up, I have wasted so much money over the years by doing orders wrong, having phone numbers typed incorrectly for a mail campaign that I already put stamps on, the most expensive part of the entire process. Like over the years, I've probably wasted $250,000 or more just on bad orders that we did. And the first thing you could do is like hide from it and just redo it and not say anything. But what we have always found is to make our customers have always been happiest when we let them know, like, hey, we messed up your order. It didn't go out, so it didn't go to customers, but we messed this order up. We're going to reprint it. We're putting you to the front of the line and making sure that this goes out as soon as possible. So building that customer satisfaction into your company, once you get to a certain point, is going to help you continue to grow in your company. I actually just had this last week, my first 1-star review on one of our companies. Never had it happen before. We had perfect 5-star records up until that point. And, it was all stuff out of our control, right? Like he was mad that the post office didn't deliver certain things. They just sent them back to him when they're good addresses, right? They just slapped a sticker on it saying it's not available. And had we had more negative reviews from customers when we were scaling, our process would have been a lot more complicated to get to where we're at. So when you have your customer, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, it is always harder to find a new customer than it is to keep an existing one, and more expensive, right? Unfortunately, it took me a long time to learn this, but if I go in my Stripe account, I've got like 3,200 customers in there that I've worked with over the years. About 200 of them are active on a monthly basis. So over 5 years building this company, we have acquired 3,300 customers around the country. And because of mistakes we made over the years, only about 200, 250 of them consistently order from us now. And a lot of those people that fell off were probably within the first 2 or 3 years. So we were spending 20, 30 grand a month to get new customers and then losing them. And it was because we weren't managing our risks. We weren't communicating with customers. We scaled too quickly. We had orders going out late because of all of this different stuff. And I think the thing to realize that helped me is every business has these pain points. Every business drops the ball. Every business messes up something, right? They forget to put insurance on a property and it floods. They're like, well, shit, like just a simple little conversation that you forgot to do, right? Like there's always little things that happen and every business goes through it. And most customers are pretty understanding as long as you communicate that to them. Cool. Why don't we open it up for like 10, 15 minutes for any questions that you guys have on this. Those are the 4 things that we wanted to walk through today. And then I have something that we'll go through with you guys as well on an offering that we have. But any questions that you guys have here, feel free to throw them in the chat. It could be about anything that we've talked about. I'd love to just see if there's anything that I didn't cover or wasn't clear enough on any of this. Read through the chat here too and see if I missed anything. I struggle to do long-term delegation is what Ryan said. Okay. Most tasks can be done 80%. Is it, just out of curiosity, is it the people that you're hiring that aren't staying? Or is it, something goes wrong and you're like, oh, I'll just do it?
Mostly something that goes wrong. and the trust is kind of broken at that point. I mean, I get more than enough chances. I feel like I'm pretty fair on that aspect, but yeah, then I just kind of break down and just do it myself, so I don't have to lose further on that after losing on it the first time.
Got it. Is it something you can do with them when those mistakes come up?
It's something that's been done with them in the first place, at times, and then once I see that they can do it right, I almost feel like the care kind of falls off. I don't know how to fix that in people sometimes, but
Yeah.
I struggle counting multiple losses at that point. With that too. So like if I delegate it to somebody, I've already built that trust with them, but then they lose that trust when it's a continual failed process.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, there's definitely a time where it comes where there's nothing you can do with somebody, right? The way I usually do this is I lead by example, right? Which sounds like you're doing on there. But it's, it can also come back to like hiring the right person from the beginning, which can be hard because hiring out of desperation is the worst mistake I think I've ever made in in business over the years. Is I need somebody to run these machines. I need to hire someone now so I don't have to work as much. Then I screw myself, and that's really challenging. So yeah, okay, got it. Thank you for sharing, Ryan.
Hey, Justin, there's a question from Alex and Karen. Did you already cover when to scale, Justin? Sorry, our internet went out for a bit and we missed a little bit.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah. So I'll say this with like the preface that this isn't 100%, right? Like this is general type stuff, but it's usually between $50,000 and $75,000 a month is when you start to truly hit the beginning phases of scaling your company. You'll start to notice like, and I think it also comes back to like, what's your intent with your business, right? Like if you don't want a $3 million a year business because you don't want all that work, don't build one. Like I know a couple people that they do a flip a quarter or 2 flips a quarter, make $500,000 a year in profit, and then they travel, right? That's what they do. They don't want that massive business. So they don't have that need for scale. But if you're wanting to grow and continue to grow your business to a certain level, you generally are looking between $50,000 and $75,000 a month, as long as you have the previous things from the first slide set in place, right? So if we go, I'm just gonna go back to it because that's gonna take forever. Yeah, this slide right here. So as long as you've got, your market research, your sales and lead generation kind of started and down, you're optimizing that sales process, you're building some customer retention and expanding your offerings, and then you're starting to develop and build that team, systematizing your operations. This is where you can start the beginning phases of scaling, is somewhere within this revenue range. And then you can really like pull the trigger on what you would call true scaling, and that's multiplying your business between like $75,000 and $100,000 a month. And I didn't say this earlier, but a big caveat to this is understanding that your systems are going to break in your business every time you grow by 3x or 10x, typically, right? That I forget the guy's name, but it was the guy who like built the Toyota processing line originally back in like the early 1900s. They found this commonality in their business that every time they 3x their orders and 10x their orders, everything went to shit. Everything fell apart. The systems didn't work anymore. The processes didn't work. And I have seen this play through in my business when I went from $30,000 a month to $90,000 a month. I had to get new CRMs. I had to implement new things. When I went from, $30,000 a month to $300,000 a month, it was another level of stuff that we had to build and change and do. So you have to kind of keep that in the back of your head that as you're growing from where you started your systems, you're going to have new stuff that you're going to have to implement and build along the way.
So many times, I think one of the pit I see that especially early entrepreneurs fall into is trying to fix problems that don't exist, while the entrepreneurial game is about creating bigger problems for ourselves that we get to solve. Instead of preventing problems, We create them so we get to fix them. I remember when Justin called me one time and he had a capacity problem. He had so many orders he couldn't get them through his machines. I'm like, fuck, let's fucking go. I love these kind of problems. Let's make those problems all the time. But so many entrepreneurs are trying to prevent problems that don't even exist. They're trying to get ahead of them. No, let's create them so we can solve them when we need to solve them.
Yep. Agreed. Awesome. Well, cool, guys. I appreciate you showing up. I wanted to run over kind of what this whole thing was for, right? Like we wanted to help you guys, give you some starting points on how to grow to 6 figures a month if you're not there. What this is turning into and what this is the kind of the next steps are is we've built a 4-week intensive for anyone that's on this call. We're going to be advertising it a lot over the next month. But what this 4-week intensive is going to include for this kind of container that we've built is the 4 different things that we talked about today. Is there's going to be a call dedicated to each one that'll be an hour to 2 hours long. So we talked about foundations for like 15 minutes. We'll talk about foundations for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Open Q&A on that, like questions that come up. We'll go through all that kind of stuff. We'll have a week on sales and marketing, team and structure, and then scaling. So each one of those calls, those are going to be on Mondays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we'll bring people on, we'll do a live Zoom call just like this and walk through a much more in-depth process for each one of these. So starting with foundations from building that vision and goals, like we're going to help you guys actually write this stuff out. We've saw 2 out of 28 people had them. We're going to help you start there and build a good foundation in your business. We'll go through sales and marketing, team and structure and scaling, and all kinds of other stuff that'll be involved in here. And you'll have access with Mike and I on these calls because we're going to co-lead these calls as they're coming through. So that first call is Monday 4 to 6, and that's going to be more of a lesson base. And then we'll do a second call Thursdays from 4 to 6. That's open Q&A, right? Literally anything. You bring a problem in your business. We're here to help you unpack that, work through it, give you ideas, tips and tricks, whatever it might be to help you go through that. It could be a mindset problem you're having in your business. It could be a cash flow problem. And if it's something we don't know the answer for, we'll find somebody who does, right? That's our whole goal with this. You'll have lifetime access to all the call recordings and discussions that we'll have. So we're going to build this out through a private Cohere group, which if you guys have ever heard of School, it's very similar to school.com. It's Cohere. It's just built for coaching specifically. But we're going to add anybody that joins into this into a private Cohere group where you'll have 24/7 access to Mike and myself. I say 24/7, but probably not going to be on at 3 a.m. But questions that you have, ideas, whatever it might be, will all be shared in this private group that Mike and I are going to run. Kara will be in there. Angie will be in there. Everyone in the group will be in there, and allows for just greater access and visibility into things and questions that can be answered. And so, yeah, I'm already going over this, but solving business challenges, asking questions, all of that kind of stuff can come into there. And for me, nothing's off limits, right? Like I'm trying to be pretty open on these and sharing revenue numbers that we have, like some of our processes, like we'll share documents in there. One of the things that we are going to go over is a task audit, where you're wasting time in your business, right? And show you how to effectively delegate and get those off your plate. So all of that stuff is in there, and we're talking 4 hours a week out of, I don't know however many hours are in a week, but 4 hours out of the entire week to really help you continue to grow and scale your business and help kind of catapult you to the next level, right? Any questions on like what the program entails so far? Cool. Awesome. Oh yeah, and you'll connect with other like-minded business owners too. I forgot that one. I couldn't remember if there's 2 or 3 bullet points on here. Cool. So with this group, the investment on this is it's a one-time investment of $1,000 for the entire month, right? That includes you and a business partner or someone else who's involved in your business at a high level. So $1,000 for one-time payment. If you are a current mastermind student in Inner Wealth Global, it's half off. It's only $500. So 50% off. We'd love to have current members in there as well to help you guys on a more intimate basis, I guess you would say. And we're not changing any of the other value from business calls or anything like that. It's just going above and beyond on this stuff. And as an added bonus for anyone that signs up for this today is we're going to do a 30-minute kickoff call with you before the group starts with either Mike, myself, or both of us. We can also do that. And that'll be for 30 minutes. And that's for anyone that signs up on this today. So this will allow us to spend 30 minutes with you, get to know you a little bit better, find out what your business is and what your biggest struggle is and how we can help you. So if that's something you guys are interested in, you can scan that code. It helps you register right away. This is kicking off August 5th. Is that right? Am I getting the date right? August 5th? All right, August 5th at 4 p.m. And we'll do this one-on-one call before the kickoff on that. So that's what we're looking to do. And yeah, any questions from anybody? Or Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, one thing to add. We scheduled this call for an hour, and we ran a little late, right? So we could have scheduled it for 90 minutes. Justin and I participated in a little coaching container just like this with another guy, and some of those calls went 2.5, 3 hours. I think the goal that we're setting out for isn't just about time. It's about making sure that everybody gets fed, questions get answered, the community's built. We get a chance to Q&A. We get a chance to really train and dive deep. So we're not worried about the amount of time that we spend on the calls. We're worried about the amount of value that everyone gets out of the calls.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, that's and I'll just be honest, the program that we went through, we pretty much built our program around his. And this is a friend of mine who actually owns like 75 different companies. So we're using some of the stuff that he went over, but also putting in, he did it for like 7 figures was his. So his was some of it was a lot harder to grasp at that point. But we built this specifically for people that are trying to get to 6 figures a month, that have had challenges getting there. And we would love to have you guys on there. If you guys have been in the Inner Wealth Mastermind, our whole goal is to give you guys as much value as possible and help you grow and scale and be better business owners and better people. This is a lot of business-based stuff, but there will be a lot of mindset stuff in here too, right? A lot of woo-woo stuff, a lot of, for me, and I'll just give this as a little bit of a preface, but like we'll talk about like actually enjoying the process of being a business owner and not being miserable while you're growing it and just hoping for one day that you can sell it and then you'll be happy. That was a big thing for me, right? As I had to learn, I learned this about probably last year when I was going through all the shit that we did in our company, is like actually enjoying the process and how when stuff goes bad, right? Stuff goes wrong. How can I enjoy it? How can I try and have fun while I'm doing this and actually just realize that, hey, I'm just living, right? This is a day and I'm going to enjoy this day instead of letting it go to shit and ruin it. I'm going to enjoy the entire process with it. And that's been a huge point of it with what I've worked on over the last couple of years too. So yeah, any final questions or questions around the format of this and how this operates at all? You can unmute, you can throw it in the chat, whatever is easiest for anybody. If not,
I'll tack one more thing on in our Cohere community. That thing is it's evergreen. So it's not at the end of the month, we're not going to shut down the Cohere group. That's where you're going to get in and get the recordings. So as we build community with other people that have gone through the program, that are still continuing to utilize all the knowledge and wisdom, we'll keep that thing open in perpetuity so we can continue to connect.
Yep. And if you're wanting to sign up and you've got to do something or whatever, there is an email going out that will have the registration link, that'll have the recording to this as well. So you guys have this for future purposes too. But we'd love to have you on here, and we'll be starting again on August 5th at 4 p.m. Central Time.
Thank you so much for all this, Justin. You're an amazing asset to Inner Wealth. We're grateful to have you. And this was all super fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for showing up. I love doing this stuff. It doesn't feel cool.
Last logistical thing to tie up. The application that you registered for this webinar is called Cohere. If you go into the Cohere app, you'll be able to access this recording again in perpetuity. So that'll be there if you want to go back and feed that back. We're going to send that recording out, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that it's in there. And if you want to get into that container and access it, it'll be there.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that. So cool. I'm learning things too. I love it. Awesome. Well, cool guys. Thanks for showing up and spending some of your Monday evening with us. I appreciate y'all for showing up, and it was great seeing y'all in here, and hopefully we'll see you in the group here as well next month.
Thanks all.
Thanks guys. See ya.